There you go.
Well, hello everyone. That's better. So we've obviously gotten a little acquainted, or we already know each other well, but tonight we're going to be talking about languages. But I'd love to do a little small check-in, just a simple check-in. Bring everybody present to the room, you know. So we're going to start on this side. Just how are you doing, and whatever. How you're doing, and you know, maybe anything you want to just share for a second with everyone. So go ahead, Galen.
I found a special someone. So that was awesome.
Yay!
She's a Capricorn.
And she's a female version of me, which I didn't think existed. So we were practicing social distancing since before COVID.
They have a long distance relationship in the city. And they're only a mile and a half away from each other.
Feeling great.
Things are so much better than they were last year. Gosh, all I can say is this year has been crazy, but it's been more than that. Been way crazy. And even the last couple days in my house, so it's even weirder. But it's good. I'm all good. Thank you. I'm Adalia, in case no one knows.
Like the singer.
Adalia.
You're her brown sister?
Yeah, I'm her sister. And I'm doing good. I guess I'm here. I am present.
She's a present.
Yes, she is a present.
And I'm Tammy, and everything's pissing me off.
I've noticed.
I'm all. It's been really a chaotic energy. Like, just like, you know, I've been very in my guard. Like,
Oh, I have that too.
that too.
I can see where that is, yes.
Galen will be teaching the next class on how to guard yourself.
Hi everybody, I'm Anthony. How's everybody doing in here? We're not the only ones here. Your spirits in here. I'm doing great. I just don't, as long as I don't drive around in Albuquerque, I'm doing real good.
Yes.
Well, other than that, nobody seems to know how they're going, or what to do, or how to feel, or
Who to
do I
follow?
put my mask on, or do I not put my mask on? All these decisions are attacking the people, and they're attacking each other, and everything's going sideways. It's pretty cool though. It's a very nice experience. It's a human experience. You
Totally.
gotta enjoy it.
It's entertaining.
It's good, yeah.
I'm Michelle, and I'm exhausted from the energy because I'm just tired of people not making a decision. Any decision is a good decision. Just not making it is really exhausting me. It's like they're just sitting going, like something's gonna change. They don't have to do anything. Some little magic unicorn's gonna come down and shit on their head, make them all happy or make them more money. And they're not gonna move because that unicorn's gonna come. And it's like, just make a decision. I'm just frustrated, exhausted. Otherwise.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you made the decision to come.
I know, right?
That's awesome.
I'm Cheyenne. I'm doing fine because I have food and sleep, so.
Basic needs. So I think it's kind of ironic that I'm teaching a class about languages and I have very little voice. It's pretty ironic. No.
It's better.
I have learned that, I mean, it's all important that we listen, right? But what does that mean? You can listen in lots of ways. So I've been really like different levels of listening over the last couple of weeks and finding more patient and not feeling the need to speak. One, because I can't. But it was like, I had a friend come over on Friday night and I had been wanting him to meet my brother. And it was about a 5-hour conversation they had. And you know, I did some things and then I sat outside and I was just sitting there and I was like, we're all of one consciousness. We can all agree that we're all connected to that, even if we're living in these individual bodies, right? But I was like, I'm gonna listen because this person is spirit and I'm gonna see what I can learn. And I did. And I tried a couple of times, excuse me, to say something.
Let's just listen.
Yeah. It's just that I coughed all the other stuff out. So anyways, but what happened essentially was I didn't get to say much and I got dismissed every time I tried to say anything. And then I was angry towards the end of it, but not angry because I couldn't listen, but because I recognized I've had a lot of people dismiss me in my life. And I've tried to speak louder for them to hear me. So it was a good lesson. There was other things. Also in the way that I've allowed men to treat me. Also in the way that I've accepted whatever people give me, especially men, whether it's what I'm worth or not. So it was a good reflection, for sure. You know, and Galen and I both learned a lesson in exhaustion. When you engage for too long with someone.
5 hours?
So I'm gonna let my voice take over.
Ask about languages.
Yep.
So what do you think language means? So I guess we'll go around. Okay. Language, for me, is more than just what you vocalize. It's something that we encounter, not just body language, but you can get a sense and connect with people on a different plane and have a whole nother language of things that just aren't even said or that you don't express, but is something that's deeper. And so I think language is much deeper than most people think. It's just a method of communication, but there's so many other forms of communication that are also languages that we don't really get a chance to express very often. So that's my idea of language.
Okay, I agree with that. And it's so subtle that you can feel the emotion, you can feel what, even though they may not be saying what you hear, you can feel the language of what their whole person is saying otherwise, because you've been with somebody who's, you know, giving you this big thing about their life, and then you say, I don't think that's really true. I don't know if they don't notice, or maybe it's just me that I see, but...
So what are you hearing when you're hearing that?
Oh, it just feels like, I don't know, you can feel the contradiction of sometimes of the terms of what they're saying or how they say it. But like I said, it's very subtle. And either you have to really look at them as a whole person versus what they're saying is what pretty much what I'm trying to communicate with that one.
Language to me is just another form of communication. I don't know.
So what are some of the other forms of communication?
Body language. Body language. Your posture, your tone of voice, even eye movement. eye contact.
And texting. Don't text me in
Singing.
that
So 3D.
I think that's the reason why people text so much now, because you get away without anybody questioning whatever you say.
Well, your motive behind the text, yeah. Language? Language is all a lie. It goes all the way back to the Tower of Babel. Shoromandiate kinyato romatianine, eniato kuyenayana eniato toro de nabadianiato waniate, ekiashon no manatiato rotatania. So it's like the song and dance that comes out of your vocal cords that are connected to your heart. And language has been distorted over all these years, and we've just made a mess of it. And so in this, we've created spells on ourselves. So we created spelling, so we decided to spell to ourselves, and we decided to cock block ourselves from all the gifts and abundance that we get. So language, there's many forms of language, and as we elevate, and I know this is what we're trying to talk about, is when you're elevating from a third to the fourth to the fifth to the sixth dimension, further on up, your language starts changing. And the reason it starts changing is because you're understanding that you're taking away the spells from yourself. So as you evolve, you're more conscious of what you're putting out. And then as you are more conscious, then you speak less and listen more, and take that breath before you answer to somebody else, and understand that you're not letting the ego take over, you're letting spirit take over, because spirit is inside you. And what we do is we try to separate spirit from ourselves. So that's what I feel about language, and that's why I use the light language more, because I'm literally speaking to your soul. And that's another language.
Listening and talking from your heart.
From your heart space. And I feel like singing is a little bit more faster to reaching each other's soul. So when you're singing also in light language, it's faster.
So frequencies.
Frequencies. Ooh.
That's what I was gonna say.
Órale.
I was gonna say same thing.
Just ditto.
Everything is
She must be leaving Anthony.
well, there's a lot of languages, and I don't know what language is or what spelling is. It's just like understanding what frequency is. Everything's frequency and numbers, and we all have some type of frequency within us. I guess you could say like a different tone everybody carries with them. It's like a different crystal that we have within us, I guess you could say, that gives off a certain tone. Like Tammy's is real high, and mine's is real low. Like woo, it's probably a big old rock or something,
Mine's
you know,
is
like
the E and his
it
is
sounds
the
like a river stone or something, you know, like woo. And hers is like really, really high and stuff like this. So, and language is just, it's, I don't know, it describes a lot of things, but right now what we use, the most common one is the English language, you know, who's even taught how to fucking write and spell in this language and talk in this language, which everybody wants to have it be the universal language of, you know, the whole world. Everybody learns some type of American word, I guess you could say, or, you know, even when you go overseas or something like this. I haven't experienced it yet, but I mean, it'll be nice to see different languages or hear different languages. So I can't wait for that to happen. Well, I don't know when that is, but maybe in a different world, you know. But it's all I guess universal, however you want to look at it. It's just all frequencies. So
Yeah, Mary made
That a hard act to follow you too. I'm just saying.
Do you want to see what we have so far?
Honey, I don't have my reading glasses
That's
on.
all right.
It's like too far away.
Okay, so language to me is an expression of spirit. It's a communication telepathically. It's signals we send. It's emotion. It's concepts and it's ideas. It's good, bad, and ugly, depending on how we choose to use it. And I think that probably language is the most intricate dance that we engage in, and we shouldn't have to.
Right.
I know, it sucks to be my granddaughter, doesn't it?
So
It's like, shit, do I have to do
you
this?
don't have to have a big dialogue to share from your heart what you think.
I think language is just something you can give to someone else, like more information about you, even if you have a guard up. Like it just lets them know, like maybe where you're from, how you're feeling, and type of stuff like that.
That was beautiful. Just because you don't have ears on you like we do doesn't mean you don't know things. Boy, we have a really good list. All these things. Hi, camera. So, more than what you say, telepathic, I think, is really integrated in this a couple of times. What you feel, being empathic, how your body language is, right? Tone, inflection, and cadence, which I think ties in also to what you followed up with, Tammy, and Anthony, is that's frequency, right? And that's vibration. And so a lot of times people will hear your words, but they won't be listening to what you're saying because they're listening to your tone, your cadence, and inflection. So right now, when I speak to people in the last week, people have asked me if I'm angry. And I'm like, no, I have a horrible voice. And it takes everything in me to say something. But it's a good example, right? So, yes, as you elevate yourself, we can telepathically communicate with each other. Think about before we had words, Yeah, you could dance around like a crazy person trying to explain what's going on. That other person already knew because they were close to you. Now we rely too much on what we hear as opposed to what we feel, right? So I really like, Michelle, that you said expression of spirit. And I really like our own, well, you were saying, Anthony, what it is from our own space. So we've all just used language to describe all the ways that we understand language and communicate. And we use these intricately all the time, right? So where I'm going with this is that all of these things are a beautiful part of communication. When you are not centered enough and you are not really listening to a person, then you're not really hearing them, or however they're speaking to you, and vice versa. And I think that really ties into, Anthony made this statement to me last week, but he's one of a long line of people. You don't know everything. My nickname was called Caroline I Know Barnett. Go figure. So was my dad's, but he won't admit that. So anyways, the point of that, I had this revelation. If we all listened to each other, because we are all from the same consciousness, then we do have access to knowing everything. We do know everything. But it is when we speak to people with an agenda that we don't know and we're not listening. So, on that note, I have this lovely little thing that one of my dear friends growing up, I don't even know why we ended up doing this, but we were teenagers. We gathered all the kids in our townhomes and we set everybody in a circle with their backs facing towards the circle. And we asked everybody to close their eyes and think of a color. And it's a pretty interesting activity. And I'm not going to go on with what happened. You might imagine what might happen, but we're going to do that first. And we're going to get into partners. So I'd like everybody to sit in a circle, back to back on the floor, please. You have to touch each other. Weird. I hope everybody smells great. No, I'm just joking. That's a part of communication, smell.
It just takes forever to get there.
So I think this is an octagon. No, I'm just joking. So at least as long as your body, at least the shoulder next to you is touching, right? Yeah, now you gotta get snuggling. So before we completely get in this, I'm not playing any music or anything, you gotta hear silence. When you're comfortable, I just want everybody. All right, Dan. I want everybody to take a couple of nice deep breaths and close their eyes and center themselves to the space they're in right now. Really letting go of any thoughts, just kind of be in your space. Okay. So when you feel you're centered, I want you to just think of a color and do just some breathing and think of a color. Now I want you to notice if any colors float into your mind outside of the one you thought about. Take a couple of deep breaths, and when you're ready to come back, you can open your eyes and return to your seat. Yeah, you can return to your other seat. Not the seat you're sitting on, which is your behind. No, the one of the comfy seats.
Just don't make me do this again.
Yeah. So I want you to hold the color in your mind that you had and the colors that you might have come into your mind. Kathy, that was beautiful. Good body work.
Oh, we have to learn the 3-point. Oh, my dad got really bad, so.
Oh, yeah.
We learned.
So I'm going to go around. You don't have to hold the microphone unless you want. Galen, what color did you envision?
Well, first indigo, but then you said if any other colors come floating in your mind, yellow.
Okay.
It's your fault. Green was my intentioned one, and brown and purple came up.
So the only connecting point between you guys was one shoulder, and that was in indigo and violet kind of fall in the same lane. Go ahead.
Mine was like a lime green, like the chairs. And then when you said another color, yellow.
Do you see where I'm going with this? All right.
Well, first, blue came up. That's on my coat.
That was what I thought.
And then also somebody threw in green and then yellow, and I was like, wait, hold on. You guys are supposed to be one color guys. So I was already yelling at everybody.
That's okay, guys. That was the
And I
point
was
of
like,
this.
well, what is it? Like the colors of my song. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, I was like, I was sitting next to my wife, so it's gotta be fluorescent green, fluorescent orange, or something like that.
Right side.
Like fluorescent orange color.
Nice.
I started with gray, yellow, orange, and blue came.
Wow.
Boy, your blue went way out.
Well, so his was indigo. I was actually thinking blue, separate from the circle, to see if anybody could pick up what I was thinking. Go ahead.
At first it was purple, but then I got orange and blue.
Isn't that fascinating when we just listen with our heart? And that was just colors. Right. So, can you imagine being a bunch of teenagers and getting all the kids in your neighborhood and lining them all up and then trying to explain to them how they're all connected? Which is much easier than a bunch of adults, but kind of weird.
They believe you
But,
first.
huh?
They believe you before the adults will.
Oh, it's very true. It's very true. So, obviously, the point of that activity is that when we center ourselves and we're listening with our heart, right? And that when we're connected to each other's consciousness, then we can pick up things effortlessly. That only took minutes. So this next activity is to find a partner. And I know Anthony and Tammy, you guys love each other, but you know each other too well for this activity. So you may not be partners, I'm sorry. And not to say that we don't all know each other pretty well, but it's a test of listening and language. So pick a partner that you want to be, that you can be with. I think you should be with Michelle because you know Adele too well too. That's not going to work. So Anthony gets to be her buddy. No, I'm not trying to be bossy. It's just natural. So pick a partner, and what we're going to do is I want you to put your hand on your heart. You don't have to sit on the floor. You can find a comfy spot, just as long as you're facing each other. Just put your hand on your heart, center yourself for a minute, because I really want you to listen with your heart, right? You can be my buddy if you want, or you can be a freeloader. It doesn't matter. No.
You know, do you
Yeah.
want to go with Tammy over with her?
Or a day.
Yeah. Here, I'll trade this way and I'll come play with you.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right.
So I kind of think I have to be. Yeah, just sit with me and we'll sit in front of that. So the point of this activity, I want you guys to think of something random that you want to share with this person after you center yourself in your heart, right? And the person that's talking will just share some cool things that they want to share, right? And then
So we are talking?
first you're going to center yourself with your heart, get in your heart. Then one person can go and say something to the other person, and the other person needs to listen with their heart. And whatever message the person that's listening to the person that's talking, whatever message you feel as it comes through after that person's done talking, I want you to speak to that person, whether it's like, wow, that was really cool, or hey, I picked up on this. Whatever comes to you through spirit, through your heart. So one person talks, one person listens, then the person that's listening gives the feedback to what they're feeling, then the person that gave feedback does the same thing. You got it?
Can you give me an example?
Yes.
Why don't you guys practice it first?
I can see that confusion
I
happening.
know, I just told Amy people.
So Galen's, my assistant, is so smart. He said you should practice it in front of everybody. So,
Yeah.
Michelle.
Share, I know how to share.
So,
Too much.
at least everybody,
There.
at least, have your hand on your heart and at least do that much. Putting the mic down. Have Michelle share something first, whatever that is.
Okay, it's been a really hectic week this week. I feel like I've been moving so fast, I have forgotten half of everything I've been thinking. I left part of me on Monday.
So you have really been trying to do a lot all week for everyone else.
Yeah.
So it's been really hard for you to stay anchored because I sense that you're feeling like you need to take care of everyone, because if you don't, it's not going to get sounds like you're needing to like ground yourself a little bit or do something for yourself, and tonight is part of that. Okay. You guys see how that worked? So now everybody gets to do the same thing, and now it's gonna be reversed. I'm gonna do that with her. I can send her and tell her something, and then she's gonna tell me what she's feeling and thinking.
Okay, you wanna start first?
We just have had more progress in our relationship. I'm very excited than we've ever had. Our entire childhood, we've had so much more
So you are wanting to from your mind,
And it's like, oh, you can't do this. It's like, oh, I do all these things. I meditate for 10 minutes.
And it's like,
This
oh,
thing
it's
is-
so cool. I don't think I can
I don't know what- It's really weird.
Yes, it's like,
Pacify some part of
But
this
then
thing.
the communication,
Now it has
so
to be
you are thinking about, it's not only being happy, but it's because you're brain is not, there's some people that also actually stand around and we are able to tell you're start on our next level. You can journey, so that's what I feel. You're really happy. I switch that. Even when you're talking about when you're talking
well, let's see, today was busy and I was excited about tonight. I didn't know if you guys were
It was
so
weird.
excited because we're going to class.
I really appreciate that
And
because I have not had that.
Somebody was asking me, so where do you see
my
it?
son, but she was
Appreciate you sharing.
Well,
So,
I'm a little worried, trying to figure out.
speaking of
It's just, you have to tell them all this because it's not going back to town.
is really to understand something.
But everybody was worried about
So
it.
that it's easy for us because we're all here by choice.
Okay,
And we're
because
aware.
I understand where I'm at right
It's
now.
different when you want to speak to someone.
I'm worried, but not as worried as I thought I was.
And we would be like, wow. Let me vomit when you all this stuff. And you're like, maybe it's just in ourselves.
That's true. Things are better. Things are better.
It's a little scary, you know, especially when you're on your own. Growing up.
Yeah.
well,
This is where they have to.
something that
It's very easy for me to go.
I have the open road ahead of me.
That's exactly what it is.
I just do so much work here. I mean, hard in the sense that like,
And people always kind of think that's Oh, yeah, there's like, oh, that's bad. Until that's bad. Right now.
you're right. I think I'm gonna paraphrase because we weren't on the mic for a minute. Yeah, it's really hard when we're doing all this work. We chose to be here and be aware. And it's easy for us to go into those other dimensional spaces because we're already vibrating
And it's
here.
always like down to a dinner teapot.
It's harder for us to be here in this world because this is not the paradigm we're choosing. But we're living here right now while it shifts.
That's
No, right, but I mean like people making a conscious effort to like, I don't agree with fear, I don't agree with that paradigm, but we're still living around it. And so trying not to be too agitated, to be drawn back into that space. Right, but helping people shift to the next space while we're already there. It's like bridging the gap. That's the learning to speak people's languages that I'm talking about. Crystal Mountain. I graduated in 97. I was started in 96.
So then when you do it.
I'm sorry, but that's not how life works. It doesn't work like that. You don't get to say, this is where it's all from, because it's not what's going on. I said, the plans are gonna change, I can guarantee you that.
We'd be surprised what they're going to do because
Yeah.
the universe intervenes every time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I want you to say this because this is how we talk to other people with our languages.
I did not know a year ago.
We have to meet people a couple steps lower, right? And it's difficult sometimes when we're already there, only because we like it there. But it's easy in the sense that if we reflect upon how we got there, when we come back down, we're able to take a minute and sense where that person is from.
Yeah.
And it's hard because as healers,
So we've been getting more.
Desire is to take it and throw it out.
Just enjoy. I say to people, I facilitate.
I lost my job.
But I have to do that for myself because I can know I can't fix anyone.
Then my mom decided,
You just want to have right.
I do try to.
Yeah.
My daughter decided she was going to go away.
My son is,
The icing on the cake.
yeah, but yeah.
So take a couple more minutes and wrap things up.
And people think, money
Okay, guys, take a few more minutes and wrap it up. She can't talk.
Oh my God.
And we think,
That fear came true.
it's sort of
She's all, she was like, I'm not gonna be able to come to my class.
mansion and, they're,
Yeah, this is a
they
good
have
class for
their
you.
picture meetings, but they don't have their soul names,
That's true.
And that's one of the things I really value with my sister, is that she's willing to just go out there and say, I don't know. I just don't know. And people say, well, you're not wealthy enough, you need this.
I hear about that.
Yeah.
But it's a judgment.
Yeah.
But it's a judgment.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you already have to.
It was good.
Thatch power. You'd rather have thatch power
Bring
than
everybody
thatch power.
together.
It's cool. Okay.
Those are.
No, you're okay. You don't need to apologize for being in the moment.
That was my scene with my son.
So, Galen, just a quick little reflection to the experience.
I would say it was very powerful. I noticed that when we were talking about the colors,
Mm-hmm.
so the colors, people were seeing blue and yellow and right before you.
Whoa.
I saw blue and yellow, but my back was to it.
Exactly.
Whoa.
So I was like, wait a second.
And my back.
She was looking at
you know?
But I had my eyes closed when I thought of blue and I didn't even realize. Nice.
Well, same with the green, I was this way.
Blue, yellow, orange, green.
Mhm.
True statement.
Just an observation.
Subliminal messaging.
The way that,
I just saw in everybody's mind. And
Oh,
what's the thing?
this little communication thing, that was very interesting, it helped me, because it was like, it was crazy that we got that much from that little. That was kind of interesting. So, thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, mine's was very amazing, always great shot, Gina. Gotta work through some stuff. A lot of stuff to work through, but it was good, yeah.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
teaching myself too. Not just teaching the other person, talk to the other person, or spirit, but learning from your spirit too.
That's awesome.
Mine is cool. I'm in my 20s, just so you know.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I think we're pretty well aware of that.
Yay!
I envision you as an old lady wearing the same stuff.
I'm gonna be like that grandma with the pink hair. And
Totally.
Oh,
Totally.
Yeah, with the leopard pants.
Yeah. With the dad bod.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So yeah, no, it was really good because I do it all day long. You know, I watch body language, I talk to people all day long, I listen to them, but sometimes I don't like slow down to I guess like.
To be present enough to hear with
Yeah.
all of your being.
And with all my being, because I'm doing 10 things while I'm doing
Right.
talking to them. But I'm really not, but I'm really there. Like I'm really there, but I'm.
Well, but we're there. It sounds like what you're saying is we're there in pieces. When we have someone's full attention, or they have our full attention, then you can listen with everything. You can pick up on all this language, as opposed to fragments of it.
Yeah, because like now that I've slowed down on my working and like when I have one client at a time, it's easier to do that instead of worrying about what the next client's coming in, my conversation, this, and making sure my son's not listening to my conversation because he's gonna come in and interfere in my conversation.
Oh, I
And
know
then-
this feeling.
Yeah.
I would have never thought of it.
Oh, he does that all the time. So I think about all this stuff, and then I think about, did they answer the phone, so I'm running the business at the same time that I'm doing
Yeah.
hair and talking to somebody. So it's a lot of jobs that I wear.
How exhausting.
Yeah. Let me show you.
Are you trying to imply something? Your body language is saying something. No.
It's like, oh.
All right, Michelle.
I liked the experience. I probably, it's not that I was worried about me being heard. It was nice for somebody to share with me what they were feeling. Because the relationship that I have, he's deaf. And he grew up in a deaf home. So he's communication challenged in expressing verbal language. And when I get caught up and busy, I don't always psychically tune in. So it's kind of nice to actually have somebody communicate something in the verbal language instead of
Right.
having it always in my head, sending messages. So that it was like,
What a nice confirmation is what I'm hearing. Like, Tammy, for some time, all of us have been talking about having to become more telepathic because of the way that our formal communication of cell phones and everything that's going on is going to go away. And so there was a couple of moments after she kept talking about this, and then she'd say, I'd go say something, or we'd say it at the same time, or she'd look at me, and I'm like, we already got it. We're already communicating. That's so silly.
Thinking blue because he thought blue. And
Totally,
right behind each other.
totally. So, that brings me to this real quick, that we're powerful. When we're centered, we're powerful connected. And we really do have the ability to hear each other without talking. Sometimes words are cheap.
and sometimes being alone in your head is worth $1 million.
Totally. Totally.
I'm just saying, there's the other
Well, and when we use words less and the other means, then we hear more when someone speaks. Like you're saying, and I feel like that's connecting back the tones of someone's voice, being able to have that connected. I worked in a deaf classroom, so I can relate to you, for sure, in some sense, of what that feels like.
After a while, the telepathic conversation, it's like you've talked for the 5 hours, and it's like, okay, I need to stop, please stop, away, out.
So learning how to guard yourself. Galen, you're teaching a guarding class. No, I'm just joking.
That's like Carlos' class.
It won't work anymore, he's happy.
It's true.
No, it really won't.
I know, I agree with you, Kathy.
It was really nice because she said some things that like I was feeling, but I didn't know how to like say them, and I didn't like I knew they were there, but I didn't know how to like talk about it myself. And she said it, and it just made a lot more sense.
It's awesome. So you know exactly what I think when you say that? I think about when we get message from Spirit, and even honestly, all the religious text that was written, right? You're channeling, we all channel. You're channeling Spirit, and you're trying to figure out, how am I going to speak what I'm getting a vision of, which is totally confined by these boundaries of words when they come through your mouth. It's like, talk about some lost in translation. But it's so, even though Tammy was able to see what you were feeling and help you put description to that, she also felt it before she put words to it. You know? And I'm a firm believer, I used to say this when I was younger, when my son was younger. Why do we have to name everything? Oh, you're angry. Oh, you're happy. Oh, why? You either like something or you don't. There's a different degree to it. But when you do that, I think, when we place a judgment of what something's supposed to look like on other people or what they're feeling or doing, then we're committed to that for some reason, for a minute, or lifetime sometimes. So just food for thought. So it's easy to hear people when we're centered, and it's easy to have dialogue relatively easy with people we know and we're comfortable with and share a similar belief system to us. The hard part, and this is part of what Michelle and I talked about, and she brought up, is, hey, we're already 5th and 6th, some of us hanging out here, and then we're hanging out with people that are over here, and you're like, let me tell you something cool, and you're like, what? Totally either freaked out, or excited, or mystified, or have no idea. So speaking someone's language is gathering where they are and being able to take what you know and translate that into what they can hear to bridge the gaps, right? So my favorite thing that I've done more recently, even before my boys, is 1, most people want someone to listen. 2, most people don't want advice because we really do have all the answers. 3, when people ask for advice, I propose, and it's worked much better, is to propose a question to them. What would you tell me if we were reversed? What would you tell me? If you come to a person with a situation and they're saying, oh, this person's horrible, and I say, what would you tell your friend or me if I came to you with the same information? Because that causes someone to ask the right questions of themselves. So that's one scenario. The other one I want to tell you about is when someone is kind of awake and you're like, dude, they're waking up. This is cool. And you're like, I want to tell them everything. Holy crap, don't do that. It's a little much. That was my first sound bath. I was like, I'm going to have a minute. But I like to ask people. So this is my favorite question. When someone will say, oh, I was raised in the Catholic Church, but I don't believe that. And whatever. And I say, They go, I believe in a higher power or the universal spirit or whatever. And I'll say, oh. So the same as Yeshua, Yahweh, source, spirit. I just ramble off a bunch of things and they go, oh, because I want to make a connection with what they may or may not know language-wise. And then I say to them, so can we agree that we all are connected to this higher consciousness? People stop for a minute. They're usually like, oh yeah, okay, I can agree with that. So I lead them on a path, giving them the information that I know by helping them come to agreements and connecting with what we're doing and what we're seeing based upon a conversation I've already had with them as it evolves. Trying to speak from my heart, you know? So I hope that helps in terms of when you're excited, when we're all excited to tell people that are kind of waking up and looking for answers, center yourself for a minute, you know? Check in for a minute with yourself and with them. What did somebody tell you when you were where they were at? Like, what worked? All of that language works, not just speaking. So, I'm going to close this lovely activity, unless anybody has any more feedback of any kind, with Deepak. Everybody likes Deepak. Let's bring the chokra in. So, just get comfy for a minute. No, we're good. We should be. We're going to find out here in a minute.
Will it be all right to play it on
on
YouTube?
No, we'll have to pause
Yeah.
Ew. So for all of you lovely people out there, we're going to be playing the Kindness Deepak Chokra meditation you can find on YouTube. And I suggest you listen to it if you so feel compelled to do so. Have a wonderful evening. This is collectivefrequency.org is the group that we're with. And anybody is a part of the community that wants to be a part of the community. So please check our website out. We are always here on Wednesday nights. We meet. We like people to be here around 6, get acquainted. We start class at 6:30, 6:45. And goes for about an hour and some odd change. And there's always different people speaking. If you feel like you want to speak, you're welcome to come and speak. Have a beautiful and blessed journey till the next time.